What's going on YouTube? Cardfight King here. So today guys, I wanted to bring you another BT8 deck profile. This one is going to be on my Armor Rush build. This might be the first iteration of the build that I'm going to be running when we eventually get BT8. Hopefully I can complete it during the pre-release. But Armor Rush is a very fun deck. It plays to the theme of Season 2, where we had like the eggs, the armor digivolving eggs, and a lot of it centered around Veemon, which is pretty much what I mean. There are other armor Digimons, like one of my favorite Digimon, Armadillomon, and they do get stuff, but Veemon was pretty much the main character of it, so he has a lot more Armor Rush and armor forms that he's going to have, and which is where you're going to really base the Armor Rush strategy around. So yeah, this is it's a fast deck. A lot of people want to compare it to Rookie Rush. I don't really think of it more as Rookie Rush. I think more of it as a sort of like more like a structured Champion Rush type of deck. But yeah, it has a lot of cool cards in here, a lot of our favorite Digimon. So obviously Veemon is the boy. So let's get into it. Upamon's the egg. Again, just easy draw. Like in a deck like this, you do want to draw. You do want to get through your. Deck. Get to your pieces. Especially if your stuff's going to be, kind of getting blasted on board. And the optimal strategy for this deck is to keep putting pressure on your opponent, and to the point where they're not really trying to attack your security. They're focused more on getting your board. So if you can switch up their overall philosophy of trying to take care of your board before they start looking at your security, be good, because your security a lot of times honestly is not going to be strong at all. You're actually going to have pretty weak security just due to the amount of Veemons you play and some of the armored Digimon. This Demi Veemon, again, it's a 5th egg. It could be anything. I just like it because I like to have 5 eggs, and I think with this deck you do want to kind of go through your egg deck. So this one, while you have 8 or more cards in hand, it gets 1000 DP. The 1000 DP can come in handy as well, because we are playing Fire Rock in the deck, and we do want, and then outside of like Flame Dramon, like a lot of your other stuff, some of your armors are weaker, and that 1000 DP can make the difference between whether you survive a check and don't survive a check, especially if you're going for multiple checks. This is the best. The jamming Veemon is probably the best Veemon in this list, for the fact that he has jamming. So let's say you do put like Fire Rocket on any of your armored Digimon and you swing into security. So if the armored Digimon does get deleted by security, then you'll armor purge back into the jamming Veemon, and because the jamming Veemon will have has jamming, obviously, the next check will go through and you won't die to a non-option security check. So that's really good. And again, it's also one of the best rush cards, because your opponent, it's a card where your opponent has to answer this card immediately when it hits the board. Then I'm playing 3 copies of the Veemon. Now, this is a lineup that you could play. I really kind of played around with, but 3 copies of this Veemon here. This is one you get in BT8, where on play you you reveal the top 4 cards and add 1 2-color blue card among them into your hand. So this can search out your Tamer, the Davis-Kin Tamer. This can search out any of your armor cards. You can argue that you want more of this card, but I prefer the starter deck Veemon more, just because everything in this deck is a free Digimon, or free type Digimon, so there's that. But yeah, 3 copies of this Veemon, 4 copies of this one. So this one is when the Digimon becomes unsuspended during your main phase, gain 1 memory. So why I like this one a lot is because when you digivolve into Magnamon, you do unsuspend, so Magnamon can actually effectively, on top of this, be a 2-cost evo if you already swung Armor Purged, or you used Armor Texture to get Armor Texture to go into something else. You get to unsuspend, gain a memory. This card also works when you unsuspend when you unsuspend by digivolving into a rested armored Digimon. When you rest your Davison kin to unsuspend him, you'll gain the memory as well. So this guy just has a lot of different applications this deck, and in Imperials, like this card extremely good in Imperial as well. I think that's why the I think he's getting an alt art of this in Imperial as well that has Imperial in the background, so that's cool. And then I'm running 2 copies of the starter deck 8 Veemon. You don't really play him for the Old Force effect. You just play him for the when attacking, 7 inferior cards in your hand, you trigger, draw 1. So if a card has no swords, you got Upamon in this, and you swing with an armor Digimon, effectively you can draw 2 cards. It's pretty good. It's okay, but I just find more value out of the other Veemons. And then this Veemon here, reveal the top 3 cards, add 1 free. So you'll notice all your Veemons are free type, all of your armored Digivolves are free type, and even your XV and Stingmon are free type, and your Pyodramon is a free type. So this card can hit any Digimon in this deck. This card hits off the top 3, so it's great. 2 copies of XVmon. Again, it's one of those cards with kind of like a self-protection method, but also can be a game ender. Like you swing with like a Lydramon, or Rydramon as I guess you should be called. It gets popped, you armor purge it, then you can digivolve into XVmon to either stand something else you can feel or stand the stack. And then just like I said, when you stand the stack, when it's unsuspended, you can gain a memory, so it also works with this as well. So then we have Stingmon here. When you play this card from your hand, if you have a blue Digimon in play, reduces cost by 1. So when you attack, and then when attacking, if you have a blue Digimon play, you draw a card. So really what you're playing this for is just when you have any type of blue Digimon on the board, you can just play him for a 3 cost for free, or pretty much a 3 cost. A lot of why he's in this deck is more or less for the Jogress into the Pyodramon, just as an additional target next to Lydramon. He's just an additional target to go into the Pyodramon. But it's a 3, it's 3 cost. He's pretty easy to get out, and has a good inheritable when you do Jogress. So going into the armored Digimon, we have Lydramon, which is the first armored Digivolve. So you Digivolve from 2 for Veemon. So this means on any Veemon. So even if the Veemon was like a black or whatever it is, doesn't matter. This Digivolve cost kind of gets around that. This just universal knowledge, so to speak. But Digivolve's 2 from him. Otherwise, on top of any other Digimon, he costs 3. So he has the armor purge ability, which all the armor Digimon have, and then when digivolving, you suspend a level 4 lower Digimon. So the 4 lower is good because it gets around your opponent playing any like level 4 lower blockers, like Mechanorimon, who's like more famous, who may see a comeback, maybe not, but like Mechanoris and other annoying blockers, the X antibody blocker that's level 4, whatnot. So just a decent card to get around stuff, but it's also green and blue. So Davis can hit this card, and you can count it as either your green or your blue. This card also is easy to help you easily Jogress into the Pyodramon. And you see this card being ran at 4 as well in the Imperial deck, since your entire rookie lineup generally is Veemon, and it's a blue green, so again it helps you it's just the best. It's pretty much the best target to Jogress in a Pyodramon with. Then we have Flamedramon. Really like Flamedramon too. So he's blue-red, Digivolve 2 from any Veemon. When attacking, gets 3,000 DP for the turn. So he's just a big 8K body. But if you put like Fire Rocket on him, the 8K can survive a lot of checks as well. So that's pretty much what he's used for. He's just like a smaller, bigger kind of beat stick, so to speak. But if you need to establish a field control, like there's like a rested level 7, like a Doru Greymon that your opponent swung with because they can't seem to find your level 6s. Well, this guy can swing over that if it doesn't have reboot and whatnot. So just keep that in mind. So he's definitely a decent card. But then my favorite armor Digivolve is the Magnamon. I love this card a lot. So he Digivolves for 3. So one one more cost higher than the other armor digivolves. He does have blocker in it, and when you digivolve, you unsuspend and gets 2000 DP for until the end of your opponent's next turn for each armor form in your trash. So any extra copies of him, Flame Dramon, or Lydramon, he gets an extra 2000 DP for and blocker. So now here's the thing: when he unsuspends, this Veemon triggers, so that effectively makes him a 2-cost Digivolve to unsuspend. And then because he gets blocker, like pretty much the longer the game goes, when your armors are getting trashed and whatnot, or if your opponent hits him out of security, the bigger this guy gets here. And then when you Digivolve into him to pass it to your opponent's turn, like I've gotten him up to be like a 17k blocker before, with armor purge. It's just really good. But again, he's a card. I know some people run him at 3. I just feel like you want to see your armors as often as possible in this type of deck, so that's why I have him at 4. He gets really good with the X antibody stuff in future sets, but otherwise, this is a card that you really want to utilize scaling into late game. And then we run the 3 copies of Pyodramon, mostly for just the free joggers and to keep on the aggression. Again, if you have the Lydramon on the board and you have like an X Veemon or Stingmon or any of the other armors, you can easily just jogress into this guy. 1 blue level 4, 1 green level 4. And he pretty much gets to attack, and then you unsuspend, and then you swing again. But you also can bottom deck a 6,000 DP or less, put it at the bottom of the deck. So, I mean, this card's just really good. And again, I think that he's just a great card to keep up the aggression, which is why we run a few extra greens to help out with that. And then we got Ice Wall, because Ice Wall is busted. I wanted to make room for 2 Hammer Sparks here, so I did cut in a little bit to my Veemon lineup. I think I was running like 18 or whatever it is, but and I think like 18, I cut 1, maybe cut a Davis, but 2 Hammer Sparks. I just wanted to see about fitting in there. You don't have to play it. For the longest time, I actually didn't play it, in my testing, but Hammer Spark still has a lot of combos it can make, and it can, Hammer Spark and getting that 1 memory can make the difference between you like swinging for game instead of passing turn and things like that. So I think the 2 Hammer Spark can work. If you find room to put more, then by all means, do what you got to do. But I just wanted to, sneak 2 in there. 4 Fire Rocket. This card should be a 4. I love this card. This card is amazing. My boy, level 69 Weedle, put me onto this card. So basically, if you have an armor Digimon, you don't need to meet the color requirement. And one of your Digimon with 2 or more colors gains security attack +1. So this card is extremely good because I mean, it just helps put on the pressure with this deck. And again, when you use Fire Rocket on any of your armor Digimon and you have a jamming Veemon underneath, regardless of if this card's going to die or not, as long as this card gets armor purged because it died to security not from DP reduction but anything else, then your jamming Veemon's pretty much going to guarantee you your next check. It's unreal. This card is really good. And when you delete one of your opponent's Digimon with blocker in it, if you hit insecurity. So, this is one of those things where it's like, if like a Black War Greymon with the blocker inheritable were to swing into security, if the blocker inheritable for the X antibody were to swing into security and hit this card, well, your card does have blocker, so you got hit with the Fire Rocket. So it's just overall a great card offensively and going into the BT8 meta defensively as well. Armor texture is more or less your game ender in this, and sometimes I do want to run 3, but basically you can play this without meeting its color requirements if you have a Digimon with armor. So what you do is basically you armor purge whatever is on top, so you just trash the top of one of your Digimon with armor, and then you Digivolve into one from your hand with armor and its traits for its Digivolution cost, and if you do unsuspend that Digimon. So like I said, it's more of a game ender. So let's say your Lydramon didn't die of security, well, you can armor texture into like a Flame Dramon, pay 2 because you're Digivolving on top of a Veemon, unsuspend, and then swing in. And then if you unsuspend, you already know if you're on top of this, you gain the memory. So it's basically like you're gaining, you gain 1 memory, so to speak, to pay the cost. So all in all, it's just a really good card, but it's again, it's more of a game ender than anything else. Now, insecurity is good. You can play a level 3 Digimon card with freeness traits from your hand or trash without paying its memory cost. So if you have like a Veemon or something in your trash, that means bam, you can play it from there, get a free search, and now that pretty much sets you up to go into like Stingmon, Pyodramon, go into an Armor Digivolve. So it just sets up a lot of your plays. And again, I may end up wanting to put this up to 3, probably maybe cut the Hammer Spark, or something up here, maybe a Pyodramon, whatever the case may be. Probably a Pyodramon. I might go down to 2 Pyodramon because he's not like the central core strategy. He's just, if I have it, I have it type of thing. So that's just going to come with more testing, and what you guys find out. And I'm running 2 Davis and 3 of the Dual Tamer. The Davis is there really because again, he can hit the Lydramon, he can hit Pyodramon, he can hit Stingmon, and he sets your memory to 3. So he hits any Digimon in this deck, because they're all blue and green. So he hits everything. And then this one to me is like the most underrated one, the more busted Tamers, because during the start of your main phase, so not start of your turn, but main phase, if you have a blue Digimon and play Game of Memory, if you have a green Digimon and play Game of Memory. So, for instance, if you have like a Lydramon that you raise out of your egg zone, so start of your turn, you're going to be put at 3 from Davis. Then after you do your hatching, your hatching phase, which requires either hatching an egg or promoting the egg, then this activates. So you move the Lydramon into the battle area. So now you fulfill both, so you gain an extra 2 memory. So this card can gain you buku amount of memory. But then the other thing is, when one of your Digimon digivolves into a 2-color Digimon with 2 colors, you suspend that Tamer to unsuspend the Digimon. So again, you can digivolve into Pyodramon. I mean, if you digivolve into Pyodramon, you can still rest this card to unsuspend him if you digivolve for the 4 cost, because if you jog rest, he comes in unsuspended anyways. But outside of like Magnamon, if you go into Flamedramon or Lydramon, like after your Armor Purge or whatever it is, then you get to restand the Digimon with this ability. And this card just kind of like enables you to like OTK your opponent, or just continue to put on extra attacks and more pressure. Overall, it's just a really, really good, really strong card for this deck. But yeah, that's the Armor Rush deck, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys tomorrow, probably for Imperial. All right, but this is Cardfight King, and I'm out.